Hello there. Welcome to MtnMeister. I'm Ben Shank, your host. You are listening to what was supposed to be our live interview with Alex Honnold in New York City. Unfortunately, the live stream did not work. We had some problems with technology and a fiasco beforehand, which involves the New York City Veterans Day Parade. As I talk to you right now, I just cannot believe what happened yesterday. My arms are so sore. I feel like I just got hit by a car. You can read all about what happened on our website. There's a link to Expedition Honnold, it's called. Again, so sorry to everybody that joined the live stream but couldn't watch it. Fortunately, we got the audio, which is what you're about to hear. My goal with this, and to be honest, it was rough at the beginning, but it picks up very quickly. My goal with this was to try to find topics that Alex hasn't talked about before. He gets interviewed all the time. I hope we did that successfully. I think we did. You can be the judge of it. Here it is, Alex Honnold live. Well, not so live, but here it is.
How close to this mic should I stay?
I would say your...
As close as I can?
Right, yeah, your
Hello,
face.
computer.
Although it's picking up through the computer. Try it now.
Can you hear me now?
Now it's great. Yeah, that's nice.
I'll just try to speak with vigor.
Well, we are, I think, live. Hello, Alex. Thanks for joining
hello.
us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, though you came to me, so it's not...
I came to you, yeah.
It's the other way around.
You have quite the month coming up.
Yeah.
A book tour in 1 month?
Yeah.
Okay. Where's the next stop after this? You're coming to
tonight
my
is
area.
New York City. Tomorrow, are you from Boston?
Yeah,
Oh.
out of Boston.
Why don't you just do this in Boston?
Good question.
Interesting.
I'll take what I can get.
Interesting. Yeah, the next 2 nights are around Boston, and then I think I go home for like a day, which is pretty amazing.
You go home?
Yeah, I think I have like 1 day in Sacramento.
Cool.
And then like Berkeley, Denver, Boulder, Seattle, San Francisco, Santa Barbara for some reason, LA, Portland, Seattle again, Salt Lake, like I don't know.
All in 1 month for the book tour?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's very
Cool.
tiring.
Yeah, I'm sure. But that allows you to climb more, I assume? Taking the 1 month rather than...
Yeah, the idea is blocking my schedule so then the whole winter I have like open so I can actually go rock climbing.
Cool. So, let's first talk about the book, Alone on the Wall. First book, how'd it go? Why write a book right now and not a year ago or a year from now?
Well, I co-wrote it with David. I mean, basically it all has to do with David Roberts, who co-wrote the book with me, who's written a ton of books and, has worked with some of my friends, and he wrote a profile with me for Outside Magazine a while back, so, I mean, I already knew him, and he knew my family, and he approached me about doing a book together, and it just seemed like the right opportunity.
Yeah,
It
cool.
just seemed like the right time.
Good. And you're known as No Big Deal.
I don't think I'm known as that. Other people think I'm known as that.
Other people do.
Yeah.
Was it hard for you to write a book, being
Well,
no
so that
big
was
deal?
that was kind of the thing about doing it with David was that
Yeah.
like stylistically he broke it into 2 parts, like my voice and his voice, and so he felt that having like a third person narrator, which is his voice, would add the appropriate, I don't know, he felt like my voice would be too understated.
Right.
Which,
Right.
So he has his voice as like a third person narrator to like keep things in perspective, I suppose.
But the part in italics, that's your writing,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah.
So was it hard for... Did he have to do a lot of reviewing on that writing to say like,
Yeah,
hey,
for
you
sure.
need to
Though all
elaborate?
of my chapters are like based on things that I've written, so they're all just like fleshed out versions of like articles or blogs or like things I've written in the past, which isn't so surprising because it covers like my most notable climbs, which I've written about over the years, like as I've done them.
Yep.
So
Moonlight Buttress, regular north face of Half Dome, I have Rainbow Wall and other Vegas climbing, and then Chad. Chad was an interesting experience for you, potentially kind of change your direction or your outlook.
Sort of, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't have known it at the time, but yeah, my expedition to Chad certainly like changed my perspective a bit over the years.
Can you talk about that? Like, why?
Chad was sort of my first experience with like full-on third world poverty, like seeing that there are like a billion people on Earth with living in totally different conditions. I mean, it was my first time going to a country where I was like, it made me wonder what the term country actually means. I was like, if the government provides no services and there's no, I was like, what is a boundary? And like, if there's no rule of law and like no services and no infrastructure and like nothing, it's basically just like Wild West Stone Age living. You're just like, it's pretty crazy. So anyway, I was like, wow, there's a whole different side of the world that I've never seen.
So the vast majority of your climbing is not free solo.
Which was part of the appeal of writing this book, was to sort of show that there's a lot more to my overall climbing than like just the solos that you see on YouTube and stuff.
Was that one of the motivations behind the content of the book?
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely one of the motivations for the book. And I mean, it's funny because the book still focuses on soloing quite a bit, but I mean, that's because
the
soloing...
picture on the front cover is...
Yeah, but it's a beautiful picture. I mean, that's the thing, is that soloing's like candy, you know? It's just like, it's so easy. You just go to it because it's like, oh, that's nice, everybody likes it, it's like fun. But the thing is, I mean, the big solo ascents that I've done are some of the most significant climbs to me. I mean, it is the most important stuff to me, but hopefully the book puts that into the greater context of my overall climbing. Yeah. You know, just like all the other expeditions I've done, the traveling, the different partners, the big link-ups, the speed climbing, like all these different types of climbing that I'm into. You know, so hopefully it kind of puts it in the right place.
It does. I mean, I think it does. But does it bother you that that's how people know you? I mean, like, people know you from soloing, not necessarily. Like, do people ever want the Alex Honnold only for soloing and no other Alex Honnold?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I don't really care. You know,
you don't
I mean,
care.
if people want to think of me as just a soloist or just a whatever, I'm like, that's fine. As long as I get to go climbing all the time, as long as I get to do. And the thing is, like, any kind of like hardcore climber, like anyone who's like deeply in the community, sort of knows the other things that I'm doing. Basically, like, as long as I can impress my friends, then it's fine. You know, like, as long as I can do or impress myself, you know, like continue to push my own climbing and do things that I find challenging or do things that my friends find impressive, you know, things like that. Like, I don't really care what, like, some random dude watching a YouTube video, like, his opinion does not matter to me.
It doesn't.
You know?
Did it ever?
No.
Never?
No.
Okay.
I mean, it's always come down to, like, being proud of myself and then... I mean, I hate to say impressing my friends because that sounds too, like, cavalier, but that's basically it. Yeah. You know, basically, like, you know, doing something meaningful within your core community, I guess, is like
I think that's a motivation for everybody, no matter who you are, right? To impress people, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I guess. But it's not just impress people. The thing is, like, you know, I mean, right now there's the freaking Veterans Day parade going on outside, and, like, I could easily impress people on the street by just hanging out the window.
Right.
You know, people would be like, that's crazy, that's so amazing, but that's like a stunt. Like, that wouldn't impress me because I know that's totally trivial and, like, easy and, like, not a real challenge at all. And it, like, certainly wouldn't impress my friends because they'd be like, that's douchey, like, why are you doing that? You know, so it's not like you're just trying to impress people because, I mean, that's easy. The hard thing is to do something that's actually meaningful that, like, you know, is truly, truly difficult.
People have said, and you have said, too, your skill isn't that you don't feel fear. Your skill is that you're maybe able to compartmentalize fear a little bit more, especially when you're high on the wall. Has there ever been a time that you couldn't do that?
Yeah, actually. So, I mean, I did like 8 radio interviews back to back yesterday, like, and so everyone's talking about fear, and if anything, I feel like my answers slightly changed from like compartmentalizing fear to saying that it's basically like a learned ability, you know, that I picked up over time. And again, that's another thing that I was trying to get at in the book, is just how much preparation, how much practice, like just how many years of build up there are for all these sorts of things.
Right. And
so when the time comes, it's not like, you know, it's not like I have to overcome massive fears. Like, when the time comes, my comfort zone is big enough that it just doesn't seem scary anymore. That's the idea. Yeah.
So, like, preparing, the first one in the book, you talked about Moonlight Buttress and how you're just inside of your van mapping out every single move that you had to make, right?
Yeah.
Is preparation still the same for you as far as, like, preparing for a free solo climb? Are you still visualizing it the night before? Because, for example, in Chad, you were doing...
But that stuff is super easy, so it doesn't really matter.
So were you prepared for those?
In Chad?
Yeah.
No, in Chad you don't need to. You just look at the wall. It's like 100 feet of like easy looking something, and you just figure it out. But the thing is, in Chad, I mean, I backed off a bunch of towers too. I'd climb halfway up, and I'd be like, this is terrible rock, and I'd climb back down. Actually, I think one of the photos in the book is me backing off the tower in Chad because the rock was terrible. And I was just like, I don't want to do this. So, I mean, it's different. Like, visualizing Moonlight Buttress is like a whole different scale. I mean, that's something that's never been done before. It's like monumental. It's like a big step for me personally. It like seemed pretty hardcore. And so, you know, that takes a lot for me to like wrap my mind around. You know, looking at some arbitrary tower in Chad and being like, oh, I'll check it out. And if it's not so good, I'll come back down. You know, that's like, doesn't really require that big of a mental leap.
Yeah.
You know?
So what, I mean, you've gotten lost on routes before, or at least lost the route while you're soloing, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Hearing that, somebody might say you weren't prepared.
Yeah, that's fair. But I mean, I think, you know, 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 I mean, I think, or you could say that I was, experienced enough to be able to deal with it. You know what I mean? Like taking a wrong turn on something. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like you don't have to do it perfectly. You just have to do it, well enough. Yeah, it just depends. I mean, I've never like gotten off route really on any of the like really big significant solos that mattered. It's not as if I ever get to the hard parts and I'm like, oh, what do I do now? Yeah. Because those are the parts you have to be prepared for.
I've heard you talk about flow before. Do you know that?
Yeah, you mean for like entering a flow state and all that kind of stuff?
Right. So with soloing, I guess your challenge level's high and your skill level's high for you. Why aren't you doing harder routes on your solos? Do you find yourself wanting to raise the challenge level even further and do harder routes so you can achieve kind of that?
Well, I mean, I think if there's anything in the book, it's that you're constantly seeing like a progression in climbing. I mean, like more complexity or more difficulty. I mean, the book sort of builds from like Moonlight Buttress, which is relatively simple. I mean, it's a difficult climb, but it's like simple. And then, culminates with like the Fitz Traverse, which is like anything but simple. It's like days and days of like super complicated climbing and like really challenging terrain. So, I mean, I think that's exactly what you mean, constantly upping the challenge.
Yeah. So how do you not push it too far?
Well, I mean, that's the delicate balancing act. I mean, so far I've done a good job of it, but yeah, I mean, you never know until I'm like 85 dying in my bed or something, and then I'll be like, I did it, I successfully treaded that line. But
do you worry about that? I mean, you're probably at the peak of your physical fitness right now, but as you get older, trying to stop yourself from going after something when you're maybe not physically ready?
No. It's pretty easy to tell. I mean, it's easy to gauge your physical fitness, and it's easy to climb something and see how you feel on it. And it's, I mean, I'm not worried about like accidentally going up on something too hard because, all it takes is climbing once with a rope to be like, wow, that feels really hard. It's not as if I'm not delusional. I'm not like, wow, I'll just be so strong. You're like, I know what I can do. But
is there any data out there on free soloing?
I don't think so, really, no.
Nothing, okay.
Though my favorite statistic is that no soloist has ever died pushing the limits of soloing. Like, no soloist has ever died doing anything cutting edge.
Right, well, you made that point at the end of I think it was at the end of the book when you said that if you're going to see, if somebody's going to die, you think that it's going to be from very casual terrain versus pushing the limits.
A lot of articles will be like, oh, so many high-end soloists have died, but then most of them have died in, like, freak things unrelated to climbing. Or unrelated to soloing, anyway. Okay. And then a couple of them have died on very easy solos. Only 2, really, I think. And so, I mean, it's all just how you look at the numbers.
Right. I mean, you still do easy terrain soloing, right?
Very little, actually.
Very little.
I don't do that much easy soloing anymore, mostly because there's not that much for me to gain from it. And I just would rather spend my time trying to do harder things, like sport climbing or bouldering.
What about on your 29th birthday? That was pretty easy soloing, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was easy, but that was like one big day. Like in the year 2014, I sold Sendero Luminoso, which is like a big hard route that I was super proud of. I sold the University Wall in Squamish, and then also Romantic Warrior and the Needles, both of which are like hard cutting edge routes that I'd always cared about. And then I also did my birthday challenge, which was like 290 pitches of easy climbing in a day. And I mean, I think that was pretty much all I did that year. Yeah. So it's basically like 4 days of soloing, all of them like pretty significant for me. I mean, even though the birthday challenge is easy, I mean, it's just a lot, so I was definitely like on my game the whole time.
Okay, so how do you stay on your game, though? I mean, it just seems like it might be easy to get complacent sometimes, and we've heard that from other athletes before, too, like these the skiers, for example, who don't think that they're in this really dangerous avalanche terrain, and then the avalanche happens. How do you constantly stay focused?
I don't know. So with the easy terrain, with the soloing, I mean, at least during my birthday challenge, in a way, it's like I don't quite need to stay focused. I mean, maybe I do. Maybe if maybe it's that important. But like climbing 5.5 slab in my tennies, it's just like if I stumbled or something, I'm pretty sure I would self-arrest. Or like jump and slide and stick it. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, which might not be the case. I might just like fall to my death. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But I mean, the thing is, when you're doing it, it seems easy. I don't know.
What about when some people in the climbing community, I think Tommy Caldwell said this, they don't really agree with soloing. How do you feel when other professional climbers and well-regarded people...
Yeah, it's funny. I've had a bunch of people be like, oh, Tommy Caldwell thinks that soling's really dangerous. And I'm like, yeah, no shit. I hang out with Tommy like all the time. Right. And we've like hiked in and out of Patagonia like going on a 6-hour hike with somebody, obviously we've like talked about all this kind of stuff.
Okay.
And I mean, so the quotes that they get used in some of the articles and in the book and stuff.
It's very selective.
Yeah, it's pretty selective. I mean, it is true that Tommy thinks that it's irresponsible to solo, or he certainly thinks that for himself it would be irresponsible to solo because, he just feels like the risk is too high. And, I mean, all the quotes are there, like he says all that. But then, I mean, it's slightly more complex because it's not like, when he's chatting with me, it's not like he's condemning my actions, being like, you shouldn't do that. He's just kind of like, well, I would never do that, and I don't think it's right. And I'm like, that's fine,
So going back to the media, doesn't it bother you then that people have this perception of what happens and it's not the truth?
No, I don't really care. I mean, it's
Really?
not that important.
I feel like it would bother me so much. I get so scared to put something out there because I feel like I'm going to be wrong, and because I don't want something false to get out there, and it seems like that.
I gave up on that a long time ago. I mean,
Why?
climbing films and media. I mean, media in general is all like full of falsehood, and as long as it's like close enough. Or like in film, as long as it tells the story, whatever that means, as long as it like conveys the experience, I'm like, that's fine. Like, it doesn't need to be.
Isn't it an issue that these climbing films are showing like 6-minute highlight reels of like whatever is the most rad or?
Doesn't bother me. I mean, as a kid, I watched all those 6-minute highlight reels, and they got me inspired to like climb hard and push myself and whatever. And so, I used those to great effect, I guess. I watched all those films, I got super inspired, I trained really hard, and now I can climb well. And so I'm like, what, if other people want to use these same highlight reels, I'm like, power to them,
But it's not.
I'm like
realistic.
extremely cynical about media now because it's just not. I don't know. It's all just sort of a creation to some extent. I'm like, that's fine. We're all just telling stories.
Yeah, but does it have to be that way? I mean, it's kind of. I don't know if this is awkward because I'm part of the media, but
yeah,
it annoys me when we only see part of the story, and that's kind of why.
But the thing is that
your
because
book.
everybody wants the easy, like, I mean, if you want the full complex issue, then you have to hang out with somebody for a long time. You have to spend a ton of time, and like same with any issue. If you really want to understand it, you have to put a ton into it and like really dive deep and like think about it, and it takes a lot. And I don't know if anybody really cares that much, particularly for climbing clips. Like, does it have to be literally true? It's like, no, you just want to see the story, get fired up, go out and do your own climbing. Like, I mean, it's not world peace or anything. It's not like some huge issue. It's just like getting inspired to go climbing.
Yeah, fair enough.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, so that really bothered me at first. Like, when I first started doing climbing clips, I was like, oh, but this isn't what actually happened. And then I was like, in reality, I'd rather just go do my climbing myself and then go back and pose things later for the camera and have, like, a clear delineation between, like, working and personal climbing. And then, as long as the final film product, shares the experience well and tells, like, the appropriate story or whatever. I don't know. It all seems fine.
So, I mean, your mom, I said, she's okay with this. I'm wondering, there are probably some other soloists out there whose families aren't okay with it. If you're...
So, strangely enough, last night I did my first, like, full-on book tour stop in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
And several members of Dean Potter's family were there, actually.
Ooh, okay.
And in the Q&A at the end, they asked me, like, what was your relationship with Dean? Or what did you think about Dean's climbing? And I was like... Oh, like, that's a complex question, especially with his family there and especially with, like, him just having had his accident and, having just died in a terrible accident. And it was like, I basically just laid it all out because, I had a complex relationship with Dean and, like, our history and, intertwined climbing and all that. And, and I think it was his cousin, and then some of the kids and everything. And, he appreciated the answer, and I think he appreciated the candor that I just, like, laid it out. Like, here's the whole deal with Dean. But I didn't get the impression that his family looked down on his choices in any way, even though they ultimately led to a terrible accident. They're just like, Cousin Dean, that guy was a wild man, And, I'd like to hope that my family sort of views it the same way, that I'm just, like, doing my thing and, hopefully I won't have an accident, but, if I do, it's like, well, I certainly made my choices. It's not as if I'd be like, surprise, like, oh, that's, didn't see that coming.
I think, I talk to my mom all the time about taking risks and things like that, and I don't know is there a point where the risk goes too high? Like, the thing that you love happens to be, well, as you say, high consequence, not necessarily high risk. Yeah. Is there a point when you should stop doing something that you love because it's too risky?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, a lot of my friends who've gotten into base jumping and wingsuiting, I mean, I feel like they should stop because it's, like, to me, clearly too risky. But they love it, and, you know, it's sky crack, as they say.
But but other people are saying the exact same thing to you.
Yeah, but they don't know what they're talking about.
right? So
Except, I don't know. I mean, the statistics don't really play out that way. I mean, with climbing, like, basically not that many people die climbing. There aren't that many accidents. So even though it looks outrageous, like it's not actually that dangerous. And certainly when you're doing it, you're not like, oh my God, I could die at any second. Whereas, like, with base jumping, you know, it's all just, like, way more extreme. And the numbers certainly don't lie with base jumping. Exactly, like, everybody does die. You know, basically everybody either dies or quits, and that's it. You know, it's, like, this crazy... Yeah. You know, there are no old base jumpers.
What is it? No old climbers and bold climbers, but no bold climbers.
Yeah, there are old climbers and there are bold climbers.
Right.
But that's the saying for any sport, you know. That's
right,
not, yeah. But, like, paragliding, you meet a lot of old guys floating around in their paragliders, you know, and you're like, oh, what a casual sport. Like, that seems pretty chill.
Right.
You don't see any old guys going base jumping, you know, partially because the sport's younger, but kind of. But also just because they all freaking die.
It's interesting to hear you say that, because everybody, I don't know, we've talked about this before on the show, that people have a tendency to draw the circle around themselves and say, I'm the exception, you know, like everybody else is saying that this is too risky, but I know what I'm doing.
I'm an above average driver.
Right, exactly.
Everybody's an above average driver.
75% of people say they're an above average driver, which doesn't
but I
make
actually
sense.
am.
Not the case. I mean,
I don't know.
You have a track record to prove that you're above average.
Driver or rock climber?
Rock climber.
Yeah, I was like driving, not so much, but yeah, with rock climbing, I don't know. I mean, I think that if you took a serious look at numbers of people climbing and accidents, like, I don't think it's that dangerous compared to a lot of other extreme sports. But I mean, like I was saying with free soloing, like, nobody's ever died pushing the limits of soloing. But, like, that certainly can't be said for, like, wingsuiting or, like, base jumping or like, say, free diving or, like, other sort of fringe sports where, like, people actually do die trying to set world records and stuff.
Yeah.
But
thank you for, I don't know if you know, you took a survey that we built. We're working on a survey with Duke University.
Yeah,
We're
totally. That was supposed to be anonymous.
Well, I saw your email. I don't know what your responses were. But it's... it was
funny because that was all about risk-taking or whatever. And they had a thing with free soloing. I'm pretty sure it was my picture.
It was you.
I was like, that's fucking me. I'm taking the survey. It was pretty funny. I was like, huh. It was interesting, though, because I felt like I would have thrown off the results of, like, whatever that survey was, because it was, like, you know, talking about extremely risky behavior and then, like, would you do this, would you not? And so like when it was, you know, like wingsuiting or free diving or like all these other random things, I'm like, oh no, out of the question, I'd never do that. But then it's like, oh, free soloing, I'd obviously do that.
Well, that's kind of the point of the survey, is to...
But I wonder if the survey properly differentiates between mortality and all the different sports, you know, like high altitude mountaineering versus freedom.
Dude,
the freaking drum
wow.
corps is, like,
lots of activity on the Veterans Day Parade. Thank you to all our veterans, by the way, for their service to our country.
Dude, coming in here, there was like veterans of the Korean War walking by. It was a bunch of really old Korean guys with flags and stuff. It was actually like quite moving.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Anyway,
wow,
it's pretty cool.
Huh. So I want to talk a little bit about the foundation, Honnold Foundation.
Yeah.
And I think that this is maybe one of the benefits of all this media exposure. Is that you can spread the word about this.
And that's part of why I started the foundation, was just because I was like, well, if I'm going to be diving into crazy media land, I may as well like use it to some good effect.
Yeah, right. So that happened because of what you saw in Chad, eventually, right?
Sort of, and also just years of reading environmental nonfiction and like worrying about the fate of the world and all that kind of stuff. You know.
What book are you reading right now? Does that have anything to do with? I know you're a big reader, right?
Yeah, I actually just finished my book on the plane.
For how many times? Or
I hadn't. Okay. I hadn't read the final
Gotcha. Okay.
Front to back, like full on, because the thing is, when you're reading and editing and writing, you know, it's all like chunks at a time, and it's like Word documents, and you don't get the feel of like flipping pages and like reading the whole document. So yeah, it was the first time I'd actually read the entire from beginning to end.
What'd you think? Is it good?
You know, it's all right.
I liked it. I really liked it.
No, it's good. I think I'm too close. Like, you know, reading your own work or like watching your own film or any of those things, I'm like, it's too much. Like, I don't know. I'm not into it. But hopefully other people enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. Good.
But no, and then I'm reading Reinventing Fire, which is like this book from the Rocky Mountain Institute about like the U.S.'s transition to clean energy, basically.
What is coming up in the future for Honnold Foundation?
So just 2 months ago, we were in Angola in Africa, And same deal, we were doing off-grid solar, trying to help people get lights and batteries in their home. And so we'll probably do a project similar to Angola next year, but hopefully scale it up a little bit more. Though Angola was kind of our first time doing something more directly through the foundation, not just like tacking on to somebody else's project. Angola was like, okay, we have this vision of what we want to do, and then we like found a partner to like make that happen, as opposed to the other way around, seeing what other people are doing and then just like helping them with it.
Right. And how did that go?
I mean, time will tell what impact it had overall, but I mean, there's currently like nobody doing solar work in Angola. Partially because it's like hard to get to. I mean, there are a lot of factors, but basically nobody's doing work there right now. And so we sort of wanted to like break into the market a little bit and just show that it was possible. And so we found a for-profit partner, and we imported a bunch of systems into the country, solar systems, so just like a panel, a battery, and some light bulbs, LEDs. Little 40-watt panels. They can like charge your phone, charge or power their lights. And so we installed... Well, basically, we imported 100 systems in the country, which is like basically 100 families getting light. Though it turned out being more than that, because like one of the systems we installed was on like a guy's hut, but it's like a single room hut. So then one bulb went in his hut, one bulb went into his daughter's hut next door, one bulb in the other daughter next door to that, and then one outside for like just nighttime community. And we went back at night. It was like 3 families now have light, plus the whole village is hanging out outside like under this one bulb. And you're like, it's pretty remarkable that like one 40-watt panel is now giving 3 families light at night, plus the village hangs out. And you're just like, that's so crazy,
the impact,
Yeah, like the impact that one tiny little system has. So anyway, the trip to Angola, no matter what, we at least distributed 100 systems, which, you're like, that's 100 to 300 families, which is pretty crazy, to think like it's a lot of people being able to like read at night or like do whatever. And a lot of people not burning kerosene in a confined space, which is horrible for their health and extremely expensive and hard for the environment. So that's like the bare minimum of our project. But then our partner Bbox, which is this British company, like they wound up having a meeting with the Minister of Energy because it's kind of a complicated story, but the best climbing in Angola was on this guy's property that was like this 5-star resort, like eco lodge thing.
Okay, I didn't know.
And so the guy that owned it was like this big businessman who like owns the shipping and stuff in Angola, and so he got interested in the project, and then he coordinated a meeting with the Minister of Energy, and they're like, we should scale this up and do more off-grid solar stuff. So we'll kind of see like what comes of that, leveraging the different relationships.
Gotcha.
Either way, it was a cool opportunity to get some solar into Angola and like get people talking about it, and just we'll see if it goes anywhere or not. But so I think next year we'll try to do a similar project on a bigger scale somewhere else in Africa.
Somewhere else in Africa, okay.
Yeah, I mean,
how do you decide where to go?
Somewhere where there's need, so and then somewhere where there's good climbing, so we were thinking about Ethiopia, which is projected to be one of the most populous countries in Africa, but currently nobody's really doing solar work
Micah
there.
Burkhart climb there?
Yeah, she's right? Micah, and so I actually saw her on my plane like 2 days ago.
Oh, okay.
Chatted with her a bunch, and she was actually saying that Mozambique would be a better choice. So it's on my to-do list to like email her and follow up because she has a nonprofit doing some work in Mozambique with biodiversity stuff, and which isn't really my passion, but she was saying that they really need solar like energy access, and so it'd be a perfect partnership to like work with her and do something there. And she said that the climbing is off the hook.
Before we give away some books to audience questions, who knows if people can even hear us right now? I'm not
I know.
Sure.
How do we tell if it's working?
Well, it looks like it is.
I mean, the green light's flashing.
Yeah.
It doesn't really mean
so
that.
Hopefully people have been able to hear us the whole time.
Like peeking from behind the monitor.
Our
like
friend over there.
A little gnome hiding in the corner.
So we're giving away 5 signed copies, I believe, of Alone on the Wall. We'll be opening up to audience questions. If you haven't submitted a question yet, do so on the discussion forum at the bottom of this page. Final question for you on the well-known 60 Minutes piece in 2011. I think they finished it with you saying that you're not going to stop free soloing because you get too old or anything.
I'll stop because I lose the passion or I'm not motivated.
Is that still true?
I think so. I mean, I am too old now, and yet I'm still climbing. No,
you're not too old.
I don't know.
You're just hitting your peak, right? 30 years old.
Yeah, we'll see. No, I think it's the same thing. Okay. I mean, I did the 60 Minutes piece in 2011, and since then, I mean, I've obviously done a lot of, many other hard solos. So I've still been motivated.
And what is next in free solo climbing? Maybe not for you, or maybe for you. I think you talked about the nose, correct?
No, not the nose, just El Cap in general.
Or, sorry, El Cap.
The nose will probably never ever be solid,
no.
just because it's like too hard and and the style is too insecure. Like I doubt anybody. Well, there's the Star Trek movie with Captain Kirk soloing the nose. Have you seen that?
No, I did not.
It's from it's old school. It's one of the original Star Trek movies, like Star Trek 6 or something. But so like Captain Kirk is soloing the nose, and Spock has like some hover boots behind him, and he's like heckling him, like, why would you do something where you're sure, that's so risky or whatever, and then Kirk like falls off, and then Spock like dives and saves him.
Okay.
You got to see it. It's like a classic. It's a classic scene.
Never seen that.
Anyway, free soloing El Cap. It's pretty rad.
Is it going to happen? And is it going to be?
I don't know.
Or
well, I mean, it'll obviously happen. Like eventually it will. If nothing else, just because in 20 years, like free climbing El Cap will probably be quite easy. Like already, like average people just show up and free climb El Cap. Like
average rock climbers.
Yeah, not like tourists, but. So, I mean, at some point, somebody will. Maybe it'd be me, maybe it won't. I don't know.
You're secretive with your projects, though, right?
Well, it's not just being secretive, but it's also just like...
a lot of hype around.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I've thought about El Cap, like, for years, and every year I look at it and I'm like, that's really scary. And then I just never have. It's not like I never... It's like I've never even wanted to, really. Or I've always wanted to, but then always been like, that's too scary. I mean, I think anybody seriously thinking about that... I mean, it's pretty extreme. Like, walk to the base and you're like, whoa, like that's pretty hardcore. But I don't know. I mean, there are tons of hard things in Europe. There are like, hard walls in the Dolomites. There's, I mean, a lot of the passion for hard soloing comes from like having a history with the route or having, just like the culture, the climbing culture that you're raised in. Like I'm from California, so obviously I'm very Yosemite centric. But somebody from Europe is probably like Chamonix centric or more into the Dolomites or whatever,
Right.
So we'll just kind of see like who gets passionate about what and what gets climbed. I don't know.
Alex, thank you so much for being here with us.
My
today.
pleasure.
We're gonna look. I don't have internet connected to this computer, so we're gonna look at it on my phone.
You mean people are just texting you questions?
Yeah,
like your two friends are like, hey, ask him about that one time.
And you're gonna decide, Alex, if the question is good enough to win the book.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, I'm just gonna say beforehand. Then I'll only give books to somebody whose question I haven't heard before, or that I'm somewhat interested by.
Okay. So if you
I
didn't
mean,
hear that,
it's like if people do whatever you need for your shot. Because I mean,
the cameraman's getting in there. Okay.
Oh yeah, look, yeah, this is like so meta. This way they're getting Google Hangout through the Red Cam. That's like even better.
Wow.
Is that a dragon? I want to be digested by the dragon. That's what it's called when people watch it through the monitor.
All right, here we go. Question from Roger Grizel. How does a climber know when he or she is ready to solo? What advice does Alex have for someone?
I saw that one the other day.
To know when they are mentally ready to.
Because when I posted your thing, I skimmed the list and I was like, I took a look.
Yeah.
And I was instantly like, I don't really want to answer that because I don't really want anything to do with like encouraging anybody to solo
That's
or
very
like telling
interesting.
people.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, mostly I felt like if you want to solo things and you feel ready, then you should, and it shouldn't really matter what other people say about being ready or not. It's one of those things where you're like, if you have to ask, then you're probably not ready.
Right. Well, I think I forget if you said this in the book or somewhere else, but like, somebody who goes 20, like once they reach 20 feet up on the wall.
Yeah, exactly. Anybody can be like, I want to be a soloist, and they can climb a little ways, and then they can be like, wow, that's really scary. Like, turns out I don't want to do that. Like, it's messed up.
Okay.
But
good. Does Roger get a book?
No.
Though
I appreciate the spirit, but also you shouldn't give me the names because what if I know anybody? Then I'm biased.
Well, here's somebody that you might know, Deirdre.
Yeah.
She says, "Salut, mon petit. Where would you love to climb with your mom this year besides Yosemite?"
I'm definitely not answering that.
You're not answering that question.
No, like my mother can communicate with me in normal ways, not through podcasts and stuff.
I think it's fine if you communicate to Alex through this podcast. But
no, my mother should just call me like a normal person.
So your mom's not going to win a book?
No, mother does not get a book. She can go buy a book at retail. No, don't worry. She already has a book.
Okay. Spirit Bear says, have you learned to disarm landmines in Angola?
See, like, you shouldn't give him the names because I know him.
Right,
you know?
right.
But I would give him a book just because I know he's too poor to buy one. But
Stacy Bear Meister from 5 episodes ago, maybe we talked to him about the whole Angola trip. So
yeah, but that's not Stacy.
Oh, it's not Stacy.
Well, the Spirit Bear is, or maybe it is.
I don't know if it was.
But the Spirit Bear is Jason Kruk.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Jason's not getting a book, or he is?
Oh, I don't know. I feel like he could. But no, I have. Oh, no, I have learned how to disarm landmines. Kind of. I mean, I learned the gist of it.
Okay.
You basically dig them out very carefully, and then you pile them up, and then you blow them up.
Right. Okay.
But I got a whole tutorial, and I took photos of the big hole, and I saw all kind of ordnance. It was like pretty interesting, actually. I did not realize how much work it is, like how laborious it is to pull out landmines.
It's not
crazy.
Like the movies.
Well, I don't know. I don't think I've seen movies like it. It'd be ultra boring footage. I was thinking
of like the Hurt Locker road bombs. I don't know if you've seen.
Oh yeah. That's a good movie.
That's great.
But,
one of my favorites.
But no, with the landmines, I mean, you're basically just like digging a trench, like inch by inch through a field, like for hours. Well, I mean, for days, years, really. It's crazy.
I'm trying to vet some of the questions, but
get rid of the boring ones. I always love it when somebody asks me a question I've never heard.
Would you rather live without cookies or your van?
See, that's
By
a good
the
question.
way,
Okay, that person
I
wins.
need some points here.
That person wins.
I saw that you liked cookies too.
Did you bring cookies?
I brought a New York special.
Whoa.
And I don't know if you have any diet restrictions.
No, well, as long as it's not like a pork cookie.
A Nutella chocolate chip cookie sandwich.
Holy shit.
I saw it at a cafe today. I don't know if it's going to be good. I didn't try
I'm going to save it. I'm going to save it for after.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
But part of the reason
you did just win some points.
Okay, good. Well, I think I should win a signed copy of your book.
Yeah. No, you can have a copy.
No, I have one.
No, okay. So I think I'd rather get rid of my van than never eat a cookie again. Because the thing is, I need a new van soon anyway, because mine has like over 200,000 miles, and I'm getting tired of the fact that I can't stand up in it. I don't know if I want to live in it for like 5 more years. I'm starting to feel a little ghetto.
Right. There's a lot out there on Alex's van. Just Google it if you want to find out more.
But yeah, that person should get a free copy.
Okay, Eva or Ava, you get a free copy of Alone on the Wall signed. If you could email ben@mtnmeister.com. Hopefully it's just Eva that sends me that email, but let's see. Bobby French says, have you ever gotten naked during a climb?
No. Though somebody has been pressuring me to climb El Cap naked, to do the first naked ascent of El Cap.
Is that something you want to do? No,
like I don't want to do that at all because you get so chafed and sunburned. It just totally worked. I'm like, why would anybody want to do that? But I guess to be the first, you know.
Does Bobby French win a book? You can be selective. We have 10 more minutes.
Okay, let's give him a book too then. He always comments on my fan page and stuff. Okay. I feel like he's devoted.
He's a true fan. yeah, he deserves one.
I feel bad, you know.
Good.
Yeah. This is why you're not supposed to give me names, though. I'm not supposed to be biased. I'm supposed to be judging quality.
I'm sorry. Okay, not a name here.
You're performing American Democracy over there, where it's all just by name recognition, like the third.
Here's a fan. Here's a fan of MtnMeister. I won't tell you his name. Discuss how you think you will adapt when you are physically past your prime, and what your life will look like at 65 years old.
See, that's a good question. Yeah, give that guy a book.
Okay.
I'm into that.
Good. Jordan Chappell. I think I have your email, Jordan, but you've just won a copy of Alone on the Wall. I
like that he assumes I'll live to 65. I appreciate that, you know, because everybody's always like, you're going to die young. I don't know. I mean, I look at like a lot of my climbing heroes and climbing partners. I mean, people like Conrad Anker or Peter Croft, who are both like fellow North Face athletes, and I've climbed with them both extensively. And they just still doing the same stuff. They're still just climbing all the time. Maybe not quite as hard, or maybe not, quite as much. But they're still, they have families. They have like a nice home somewhere that they love, and they just like climb all the time. That's like my ideal. I don't need to be climbing like hard 514 my whole life, or like soloing big walls. I mean, I'll be stoked to just like go solo 5-6 in the mountains and like hang out with the family or something. I'm so excited about this Nutella cookie. It's like combining two of the best things.
It was tough to not eat it.
I know. I'm surprised you didn't while you were running across town. That's
yeah, I had an epic getting here. It was a lot of fun. We won't talk about it right now. But ooh, I like this one. You don't have to like it, though. What was the most negative thought that crossed your mind when on a wall? How did you get over it?
Oh, God, I'm going to die.
You're going to die?
No, I don't know. I don't know if I've really had, like, full-on, like, wow, I'm about to die. I'm sure I have. I don't know. I mean, honestly, my most negative thoughts climbing are typically, like, why am I doing this? This sucks. I hate this. My feet hurt. Or, like, whatever, you know?
This was kind of a question I had that I forgot to ask you, is why, like, have you ever questioned what you're doing?
With rock climbing?
Well, yeah, with climbing, and then also...
Though typically it's not the rock climbing that makes me question. Typically it's like the interviews and like the work stuff and like the presentations and just like the bustle. Or actually it's the flying. It's the travel. Like, I mean, even today I like landed at LaGuardia and then I sat on the runway for like 45 minutes for no reason. Just like because the plane is, you know, whatever, because there was traffic on the runway. Mm-hmm. And then I had this weird experience with the taxi and then I was in traffic for like, you know, another 45 minutes or more or something. And I was like... Finally, I got to my hotel at like noonish, and I was like, wow, I got up at like 6 this morning to start transit, and I was like, why have I done nothing for the last 6 hours just to like move somewhere? I'm like, that's so annoying.
Do you have an option to get out of it? Like, could you really scale it down? Or
yeah, of course I could. I mean, I could not respond to my email. I could just say no to every event. I could say no to every speaking thing. I mean, of course I could be like, no, I don't want that. The thing is, I've chosen this. I mean, you know, I could have not published a book, obviously. Like, this is my choice. And I knew that, like, publishing a book would... you know, involve a ton of craziness and a book tour and all that. But in a way, I'm sort of embracing that because it gives me a much longer climbing career, you know, and so I'll be able to climb hopefully my whole life. Yeah. Hopefully I'll never be like, you know, laying concrete or something at the age of like 47, being like, man, I should have played my cards differently. Mm-hmm. You know, so I mean, I'm just sort of like trying to capitalize on my opportunities so that I can go climb my whole life. We'll see.
What do you think
yeah,
about...
give that person a book.
Okay, Donnie, you have won a copy of Alone on the Wall, and I believe we have one more to give away.
I think so, too. Okay. But if not, I'm sure I can sign one more book if
if
I overpromise.
Let's see some of the new ones.
I hate to underdeliver, you know. You're just picking out your 5 best friends as you scroll down the list.
Right. Well, some of them are, like, really long. Like, I don't want to read you that whole question.
Yeah, you're right. This is too much. See, look at the next one. It's a single line. That's my kind of question.
Right. Like, okay, yeah. God. Justin, what is the most difficult aspect of the life that you lead? I feel like you've gotten that question before, though.
Yeah, though any question that allows me to just complain about traveling for a while, like, makes me feel great. You know? But no, give me a better one.
Okay. What challenged you more during Sufferfest, the climbing or the cycling?
The cycling, I suppose.
Cycling?
Just in general, cycling is like way more of a physical grind, whereas climbing, I'm like better adapted to it, and it's just like it takes a lot for me to get really, really tired from climbing. But you know, if I go for a 6-hour bike ride, I'm pretty worked. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't win a book. That doesn't win a book. Okay. No, it's a good question though. But
what do
see? I think that's what made Sufferfest so hard for Cedar was that the climbing was grinding him down and the cycling was grinding him down. Whereas for me, the climbing all felt like rest day climbing, and so the cycling was like the only thing that was really beating me down.
Right.
But
how about what do the cameras and media on the wall mean to your headspace when you solo? And what do you think about the way they've been portrayed in the non-climbing world, good or bad?
The way what's been portrayed in the non-climbing world?
I would assume
all the free solos.
Your free solos, yeah.
I mean, if there are a bunch of cameras on the wall, then obviously you're not like totally free soloing by yourself. And that's why most of the things that you see in videos I've gone back and filmed on later. Mm-hmm. You know, so many of them I've free soloed once, and then like the next day even I'm back up there like shooting video and redoing certain pitches. But, you know, that way I can preserve my experience, which is what I care about, you know, like having some amazing time on a big wall, and then I can still, like, get good media.
And now what about the people that are filming you? Do you ever think of, like... I
mean, everyone I work with is always, like, a good friend of mine, so it's, like, going up with your buddies and, like, hanging out on the wall all day. It's, like, super fun.
Wasn't there some trouble there with Peter Mortimer, I think, early on? Wasn't he a little nervous about...
Oh, I mean, some of the that anecdote's in the book. I mean, some of the people I've worked with are like very nervous to be up there, but but I mean that's fine. Like Brett Lowell is like a really good friend of mine. He's one half of Big Up Films.
Yeah.
Like he and his brother Josh like do Big Up, all the Dosage movies, and he's like an amazing climbing cinematographer. But he's just like a little nervous about exposure. Like I don't know.
Do you say anything to him? Like what's the conversation that you?
Well,
have
so
with
he's
him?
like hanging there, and I'm soloing, and he's all like gripped watching me, and I'm just like, oh no, Brett, it's fine, don't worry, like deep breaths, you'll be okay. And I mean, he's like hanging on a rope, and I'm like holding on.
Right.
But the thing is, I'm like extremely comfortable because I do that a lot, and I like know what I'm doing. And Brett's just like doesn't want to watch that, you know, because you know I'm a friend, and he like doesn't want to see me fall to my death like right next to him, which is totally understandable. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's fine. It's all just. The thing is, like, the particular encounter that I'm talking about with Brett, I mean, right before that, we both hung out on a little ledge, basically, like, sitting in each other's lap, trying to, like, hide in the shade, like, waiting for the sun to change. And so we hung out for, like, 2 hours talking about, like, life and everything, you know, just, like, chilling. And then it's like, okay, it's time, the sun's down. And so then we, like, get him in position, and then he's like, this is scary, you know? And, I mean, like, it's just nice to be able to share that whole wall experience with him, to hang out with him, to chat for a long time, and then just because he's, like, just because he doesn't want to see me die, you know, that doesn't, like, take anything away from the nice time we had together.
Yeah.
Anyway, I like Brett. Okay,
cool.
Yeah, one more good question, though.
Okay, one more good question. I really like this one. This is just a very simple question. I'm rather new to rock climbing, and last week I sustained a shoulder injury, which left me physically unable to continue.
I read that one. I like that one.
Really
that guy gets a book. Plus, now that he's like in physio trying to put his shoulder back together, he may as well reach for a bit.
Right. Okay, I think it's a great question.
Yeah, so I've never been that worried about sustaining a climb-ending injury while on the climb, and I think part of that, and I actually thought that. In his question, he sort of answered himself that he's new to climbing and that he just had this injury. I mean, I've been climbing since I was 10, and so I think I'm like quite a bit less likely to have some like catastrophic injury totally unexpectedly, just because like my body is used to like making these movements. I've never really had any kind of. I mean, I've blown pulleys in my fingers before, but even that's not like catastrophic. Like, oh, you're gonna fall off, like instantly. And also the stuff that I'm soloing is like within my comfort zone enough that it's not like I'm cranking as hard as I can. It's not like my fingers are just going to explode under the strain because it's not like I'm pushing that limit so much. Yeah. But yeah, basically I'm not that worried about it.
Risking injury isn't one of the variables that you're really worrying about.
No, and actually until I read that question, I don't think I've ever thought about that. I've never been like, oh, what if I like sublux my shoulder on a move? I'm like, that's like not even in my realm of possibility. But if it happened, I'm sure I would figure out a way to deal with it very quickly. You know, I mean... And one way would just be to like hang out there and basically like hang there and yell for help for like a day, you know, like as long as it takes, you can just like hang on and be like, help me,
right.
You know.
I like Joe. Can we give Joe?
Yeah.
Okay, Joe, you're the final winner of Alone on the Wall. Good.
I hope
good
your
question.
shoulder heals. Yeah.
Yeah. Good luck with the shoulder.
Do some physio.
Thank you so much, Alex, for coming on the show today.
Yeah, of course.
Appreciate it. We had a lot of people asking to get you on here.
Well, there you go.
Best of luck with the rest of the tour. Yeah, it's going to be a long month.
I can't wait.
So,
I know,
all right.
On to the
Thanks
next.
for tuning in, everybody. Bye. You want to click that? Whatever.
Oh, yeah. This is the classic. Wait, is it off? Is it off?
Oh, no.
Dude, I did an interview yesterday. I'm going to share this anecdote with anyone watching.
Yeah. Is it on?
Oh,
no.
Oh,
that's unfortunate.
Now we're on.
Yeah, get rid of that.
1 second, sorry.
Oh, yeah, classic. Hey, the live never worked. That's so fucked. You should have looked at it.
Yes, indeed. As Alex said there so eloquently at the end, the live never worked. So sorry again to anybody that tried to join the live discussion but couldn't. Totally my fault. Fortunately, we got the audio, though. If you want to book, email me, ben@MtnMeister.com. I'll also comment on your comment on that page that we had Alex's interview on. Also, read on our blog what happened before this interview. It's really funny. Go to MtnMeister.com/blog. The article's called Expedition Honnold. All right, thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of MtnMeister. I hope you enjoyed and enjoy doing the rest of whatever you do while you listen to the podcast that explores the minds of those who explore. I'm your host, Ben Shank. You've been listening to MtnMeister.